I'm Jared Paul. For the last 10 years, I've been touring the country as an independent performance poet, social justice organizer, and as a musician with my band, Prayers for Atheists. If you look at the map behind me, you'll see over 135 thumbtacks, one for almost every city I've performed in. It's been a long journey, but for the first time since I started, I'm taking an extended break from the road in order to write my first book of creative nonfiction and personal essays. These will be traveling stories, protest stories, and radical art adventures that cover everything from myself and other protesters temporarily placing 3 Boston police officers under citizen's arrest for assaulting members of the crowd at the Democratic National Convention, to my trip across the German-Austrian border, winding through the peaks and valleys of the Alps at 2 a.m. in a mobile trailer home full of bohemian poets and gypsy travelers. Civil disobedience to shut down streets outside of IMF conferences in Washington, D.C., and touring most of the continental U.S. by train and by bus. It'll also feature more humorous anecdotes, like me getting chased out of the ESPN X Games for spitting on Eminem. Did I really spit on Eminem? Yes, I really spit on Eminem, but he was being extremely abusive to a good friend of mine at the time, and I felt obligated to interject. It's a long story, with more details than we have time to get into here, which is why there needs to be a book. I have a great studio to write in, and all the source material I need to complete the manuscript. All I'm lacking is the financial stability to get it done, which is why I'm launching this crowdsourced writing residency. With your sponsorship, I'll be able to spend 6 to 8 hours a day writing and editing my work without having to constantly book shows and travel in order to stay afloat. At that rate, I believe I could have the bulk of the manuscript completed within 6 months. After years of surviving as a full-time independent artist, I've learned that DIY isn't really do-it-yourself. It's do-it-yourself with help from people who care. If I didn't have supporters throwing shows for me around the country, coming to my events, or buying merch, then I wouldn't have much of a career at all, which is why I put my heart, mind, and guts into every piece of art I make and into each show I perform. That's how I hold up my end of the bargain. This crowdsourced writing residency is no different. If you invest, not only will you be supporting independent art and helping to sponsor a superbly crafted piece of literature, you'll be taking part in the documentation of rare and alternative perspectives into the nuts and bolts history of the modern American counterculture experience, helping to tell a side of the story that is quite honestly seldom covered. In addition to the satisfaction of helping put a book like this out there into the world, sponsors will also receive a wide range of rewards in exchange, such as having your name listed in the official Radical Art sponsorship page in the final book, copies of my brand new live spoken word album, signed screen print posters, writing workshops, personal editing help, signed copies of the completed book when it's released, and more. I believe in this book with all my heart. I'm inviting you to invest and to become part of this collection of stories that I believe people will be reading and talking about for many years to come. I'm Jared Paul. Thank you for listening.